Testing. Mic check. This is the first official Off Script Radio live stream. Welcome. Hey, Sarah, how's it going? Thanks for becoming a channel member. Always appreciated. Hope your day's going well. I'm sure this will be interesting. I have to move people over. So people that are used to going to Trigger Smart for this are going to have to work their way over here over time. I assume it'll probably take a few shows, which is fine. People can always catch it a little bit later on. I do my little intro here. Welcome to the live stream. I'll be covering updates on the war with Iran that has spread to other countries. We'll also do some live monitoring as well. Hit the like on the way in. It helps feed the algorithm. If you want to support in other ways, you can always become a channel member, pick up some merch, buy affiliate products on my Amazon storefront, or you can donate. All those links are down in the description of the video. Thanks to all those that serve or have family that serve. Hey, Nicole, Sarah, allegedly, maybe, perhaps. Yeah, so it's been interesting. I am still getting used to actually going to Off Script Radio with the stream instead of to Trigger Smart. I almost set this whole thing up and almost had it go to Trigger Smart by accident. So but as you can see, hey Zen, as you can see, I am now they're officially separated. So Trigger Smart is back to my regular shenanigans, and Off Script Radio will be for all the war updates. And also something I was thinking about is, what are your thoughts on, so obviously I have the Iran war. I also am thinking about doing Russia and Ukraine, which is not quite as popular for monitoring. Obviously, it's been going on for like 4 years. But another thought I had is, what do you guys think about having like a earthquake, sun weather, kind of like global weather 24/7 stream? What are your thoughts on that? I'm just kind of throwing stuff around, just trying to think what might be useful for people to be able to just have on while they're working or hanging out or cooking or something as well. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. I will start with our news updates. This is the last 24 to 48 hours, of the Iran war. There is some Russia and Ukraine sprinkled in here and there, especially around oil. But there's been military escalation and battlefield updates. The U.S. has now conducted over 11,000 airstrikes in approximately 30 days, targeting military infrastructure, naval assets. Apparently, over 150 vessels have been destroyed, and nuclear and defense facilities. There's reports of continued explosions in Tehran, which has basically been nonstop the entire war. Also, Isfahan, as strikes intensify. And the U.S. says war is at a decisive moment, warning that escalation will happen if no deal is reached soon. And we've been hearing that this whole time for at least a couple weeks now. We also heard today from Trump. He specifically said that the Strait of Hormuz doesn't necessarily affect the United States. So he is more than happy to pull out and leave everything staying exactly as it is and leaving it to the Gulf states and Europe and NATO to deal with the Strait of Hormuz. So we'll see what happens with that. U.S. official reports Iranian missile and drone launchers are at their lowest level since the war began. This suggests possible degradation of Iran's capabilities or a strategic pause or reset. I'm guessing it's probably more the first one. In the Strait of Hormuz, Iran continues to effectively disrupt and close the Strait of Hormuz, a critical global route, as we know, but oil markets are reacting with volatility due to supply concerns. We have seen a lot of people releasing from their reserves. U.S. is threatening to destroy Iran's key oil infrastructure, basically Karg Island, if no agreement is reached. And that probably would take a ground invasion, which is probably why they sent the Marines and stuff out there. So, just to reiterate, I think we're kind of back to, maybe the ground troops thing again, unfortunately. There have been some new attacks. So Iranian drones hit a Kuwaiti oil tanker in the Dubai port. The vessel caught fire. There are no casualties reported, but obviously this is an escalation move, hitting tankers on purpose. Expansion is beyond direct U.S.-Israel targets and is an increased risk to global shipping. There's wider war. We know the Houthis have also joined forces, and they have entered the war in Yemen, and they fire ballistic missiles at Israel. They were intercepted, but we've also seen the same thing from Lebanon, and many of those have gotten through. So now if you have the Houthis and Hezbollah and Iran, granted, shooting much less from Iran, all at the same time, that creates quite a problem. Russia-linked Chechen units reportedly are on standby if the U.S. launches ground invasion. So now we're seeing this could be a possible major escalation, because if they put the Chechen forces will battle, apparently, with the Iranian forces against the U.S., that could be a major, major issue. And that's why some people think that this might lead to World War III. There's been an internal crackdown inside Iran. Iran is warning that you will get the death penalty and asset seizure for anyone aiding enemies. I don't know why the asset seizure would matter if you're dead from the death penalty, but that's what they're saying. There's been over 1,000 arrests, mostly tied to filming sensitive locations. Excuse me. So they don't want people filming, giving away operational security. They're also sharing content online, which is probably a lot of the explosions and things we've seen damage from attacks from Israel and the U.S. They don't want that information out, understandably. And alleged intelligence cooperation. I don't know with who, but they're saying that maybe there's some spies or something similar. As far as civilian casualties, U.S. lawmakers are calling for investigations into strikes on the Iranian school, first of all. There was approximately 160 civilians, of which we heard many were school children. And this raises legal concerns of potential shift in political public support. And I think, the U.S. had mentioned a few things at some point, possibly hinting that they were investigating it themselves, thinking that they might have done it. But then other sources said that they didn't do it, and maybe it was an Iranian missile or something that went rogue. And some also suggest that maybe even other nation states might have done it as like a false flag. We have President Trump claiming the U.S. could leave within 2 to 3 weeks. We've been hearing that for about 2 to 3 weeks. And this suggests the war may be nearing a turning point or negotiated end. Trump stated today, specifically, that his main goal was to denuclearize Iran. The Strait of Hormuz is not his problem, not the U.S.'s problem, according to him. So if he feels as though he has accomplished that, then he will probably try and pull out. I know that Israel probably wants to do more because they feel like it's an existential threat from Iran, which it probably is, especially based on their conflicting religious beliefs. But the key takeaways, the war is entering a critical phase. Iran's offensive capability appears to be severely weakened, or they're withholding for a bigger moment. Conflict is spreading regionally. We have the Houthis and tanker attacks. Global economic pressure is rising, and diplomacy and escalation are happening simultaneously. That is our basic news. We can jump into our clips here shortly. It's not World War III now. A lot of people would say that World War III started when Russia and Ukraine started battling. But, I don't know if World War ever stops, right? Like, especially with modern warfare, the fact that we've been hacked already by China and Iran and who knows who else, Russia, I don't know. But the fact that everyone, for the most part, has hacked each other, they sabotage each other, and there's a lot of political turmoil and fighting. And like we've heard things about, biological things that might have been created back in like 2019. So stuff like that is always going on. So to most people, that means that World War III is kind of always ongoing, right? It never really, like most people think of World War III as nukes being launched back and forth. But World War III is really anything you're doing economically, financially, militarily to another country. And we know that the financial stuff and the hacking and all of that happens all the time. It's ongoing. So to that end, I would say that it's probably pretty safe to say that World War III has already been going on before anyone even fired any missiles. Let's see here. Got someone saying some interesting stuff in chat. Let's see. Nicole says, I'm such a liar. Are you a bot? Bye bye, bot. Dralatina, thanks for becoming a new channel member. I keep forgetting that this is a brand new channel, so I'm gonna have to like weed out the bots and all the haters and those kind of people. Has anyone seen? Let's see. We have the mods. Has anyone seen Nightbot yet? I don't think Nightbot's kicked in yet, so that's something I'm gonna have to follow up on as well. Okay, I'm gonna make a note of that here really quick because I will forget. All right. Let's go and go to our clips. All right. So let me make this bigger. So a tanker's been hit. This was the this was one of a few that was hit and on fire near Qatar. We have Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is not a Trump fan anymore, saying Trump is going to address the nation tomorrow. This is tomorrow, I believe, at 9 Eastern. And he's going to have an update on Iran. She says no boots on the ground. So she's going to use this for political gain, I think. And then we have Netanyahu. He's saying we're forming alliances with Arab countries that are talking about fighting alongside us. In the past, I had secret conversations with Arab leaders. I told them the moment Iran is able to, they will conquer you and topple your kingdoms. Back then, they didn't internalize this. Today, they understand. So this could, I mean, if you know anything about like the Abrahamic Accords and stuff like that, this, you know, some people see this as kind of like a end times type of thing where they all come together and they create like this peace for 7 years and everything else. There's a lot more to that, but kind of interesting. I don't know if you watch Nick Fuentes or not, but a lot of people are saying that he's a traitor to the U.S. based on some of these words.
Pray for Iran. Pray for the designs of the Jews to fail. That's all we could do. Iran is fighting for the whole world right now. And don't get me wrong, I'm not praying for more casualties. I want that to stop. I want the United States to be finished. But Iran right now is fighting for all of humanity. They really are. In a way, they're fighting for us. Because if Iran falls, it means Israel controls the entire Middle East. And the power that Iran exercises over the Strait, over the Red Sea, that's what Israel wants. That's what Israel's playing for. They want that power over our government. They want that power over the Gulf. They want that power over all the trade, all the commerce, all the supply chains, everything that goes through the Middle East. They want all of it. And never forget, they are a nuclear-armed intelligence superpower with a fifth column in the United States, Europe, Russia. Increasingly, they're spreading their tentacles even into Asia. If Iran can't shut them down, nobody can. Trump can't or won't. The United States can't. Russia can't. Europe can't. It is literally Iran, a country that has turned itself into a fortress for this eventuality. They're fighting for all of us. Iran is fighting for all the Goyim. Make no mistake about it. If we, the United States, were challenging Israel the way Iran is, they would be murdering us too. They'd be bombing our schools. They'd be assassinating our leaders. They'd be killing our soldiers. They'd be doing the same thing. Everyone that stands in their way, they give the Gaza treatment. Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, Iran.
So you get the idea. So he is under the understanding that as long as we're doing what they say, then we're okay. As soon as we turn against them or decide not to help them, then we'll end up being on the menu just like everyone else. So a lot of people are saying that that's making him a traitor to the U.S. Netanyahu says they're working on transforming Israel into a super nation in the region and globally. And that's something that he's been saying for a very long time. This is kind of cool. This is the new interceptor drones. And, you know, obviously they were launching these Patriot missiles and things out at $1 million plus per. Now they're using drones. And some of them, I think, are one of the manufacturing I believe is in the Gulf states, but then there's also they're using some from Ukraine as well. But these are much cheaper. These are like, tens of thousands or a few $100,000. And this is an intercept using one of our drones or one of the Gulf state drones versus a Shahed. So you still get the full explosion, but obviously it's above your head. So, and hopefully, I don't think there'd be much debris falling down on that stuff from there either. This is the HIMARS system. And this is what it looks like when it's launching a bunch of rockets coming off of it. And this is something that we use. And this would be mostly, as far as I understand it, this is mostly going to be offensive. But kind of interesting. And these are mobile, usually on the back of a truck. And that's one of the advantages that Russia had over us with our nuclear. Most of our nuclear arsenal, obviously we have the subs, but a lot of it is in missile silos. And they're stationary. But Russia is able to move theirs around, and that's kind of how the HIMARS are. Obviously not as powerful and obviously not nuclear, but kind of interesting. This is a missile that is incoming towards soldiers on our side, and it hits very close.
Oh, there's... Oh.
Are y'all good? Everybody's good?
That
Everybody over
was
here's
right
good.
there.
Yeah. Good. I saw that one come in. You guys all right? Everybody okay? Yeah. All right.
Oh, there's...
Watch that one more time.
Oh.
So, yeah, I wouldn't be there. Someone said, hi, Nightbot. Did you actually see Nightbot? I'm not seeing it yet. So, yeah, I don't see Nightbot yet. So I'll have to double check that and see what's... Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay. About time, Nightbot. Took you a while. Welcome. We have some more Hezbollah commanders being hit and some more assassination attempts. And they've been fairly successful at this. And then we have another steel plant being hit. We know that this was kind of a red line for Iran. And they were threatening to hit us. And we're going to see they're actually threatening some of our corporations as well. Trump says we have nothing to do with what happens in the Strait of Hormuz. We'll be leaving soon. Again, quoting the fact that I don't know if this is I don't know if this is one of his like 4D chess moves that people say he does, but he's basically just saying, "Hey, I'm hands off with Strait of Hormuz." Originally, they were talking about kind of taking it over and going in there and enforcing their will, and now he's just like, you know what, we're pulling out. We'll just leave it on you guys. So we'll see what happens with that. U.S. military has approved a major foreign military sale to the Royal Australian Air Force. These Beavery Rams, AIM 260As. So you can see, so this is kind of the spoils of war. You're making a bunch of money selling munitions and things like that. We have a kidnapping of a journalist. This is the footage that shows the moment that Shelley Kittleston was kidnapped in Baghdad. This is an American journalist, by the way. Taking it right there, forcing into that vehicle. So I've heard mixed reports on whether she is, whether she's been recovered or not. But, when you're going out there and you're doing journalism, this is unfortunately a risk of some of this stuff. Ukraine proposes an Easter ceasefire with Russia. They have done things like this in the past. So we'll see what happens with that. But typically, a lot of times Russia will say that they're not into that because they don't want to give them a chance to recoup and get more weapons and place more things and do more strategy. So we'll see if that actually comes to fruition. There was a mass casualty event. There's 6 dead and 72 injured at a Ukrainian strike hit. I can't pronounce this. I'm not even going to try. Europe's largest petrochemical facility in Russia. So this would be a major escalation, right? Not only did they destroy the property and the largest petrochemical facility, but they also killed and injured a lot of people. According to preliminary reports, we know that she was kidnapped. We don't know like I said, this is Shelley Kittleston. As far as I know, she's not been recovered. But like I said, there's conflicting reports. We're going to see one here in a minute that says she might have actually been rescued or she might have been saved. Spanish Prime Minister, the government of Spain condemns the death penalty against Palestinians that Israel's parliament has just approved. And you'll see here, too, France and Spain are kind of lockstep against the U.S. and Israel. We're going to see more of that coming up here in a minute. The UAE air defenses intercepted 8 ballistic missiles, 4 cruise missiles, and 36 UAVs from Iran. And remember that school, remember they said that it was a cruise missile? And people were saying it was a U.S. cruise missile. Well, Iran is launching cruise missiles into the UAE. So that's interesting as well. Maybe there's a chance that, maybe there's a chance those missiles were not American. But this is a Raytheon KOD drone. This is one of the ones that was used to intercept. So that's what they look like. They're fairly inexpensive. And this is an intercept here.
Oh!
So they seem to be fairly effective and fairly accurate, which is good. We also have President Trump saying other countries are going to be forced to open the Strait of Hormuz. Again, reiterating that he's hands off. He wants nothing to do with it. And he says all the countries can't get jet fuel because of the Strait of Hormuz. I've got a suggestion, buy from the U.S. We've got plenty, and show a little late courage. So he wants this he said, buy from us. He said, if you can't get it from the Strait, just come to us. Seems to make sense. And China and Pakistan presented a 5-point plan to end the war in Iran. They call for immediate ceasefire and humanitarian access. They want to launch peace talks and protect sovereignty of regional states, protect civilian and stop attacks on non-military infrastructure. There have been things like pharmacies hit, schools hit, hospitals hit. They want to ensure security and free passage in the Strait of Hormuz and strengthen UN role and pursue a long-term multilateral peace framework. The problem with all of this is that a lot of the issue with Iran and Israel is that it's a religious war, right? This is something where it's existential to both of them, and they both believe that their religion is the correct one and the other one is against them. So all this stuff in place is still not going to change that historically. We have press secretary shouting out open source intel. I do use a lot of open source intel and some others, so shout out to them as well. But you made it when Carolyn Levitt shouts you out. She was using him here. We have some very large explosions. This was a hit in Hezbollah in Beirut. I believe I actually have the moment of the hit. Let me see if I can find that here. Might be a few down. Yeah, we'll get to it here in a minute. But France shut its airspace. This was what I was talking about before with Spain and France kind of saying, F you, United States. According to Reuters, the decision was made over the weekend, the first such move by France since the start of the conflict. Trump plans to wrap the operation up by April 8th. So if that's the case, we're looking at 9 days. The first such move by France, Strait of Hormuz will most likely be secured by those who have a direct interest in it. So France and Spain, so much for NATO, This is one of those things where it's supposed to be this NATO thing was supposed to be everyone having each other's back and helping out militarily and having the capability to do an Article 5 and that kind of stuff, but it's looking like it's every man for themselves at this point. Journalist says America is all set to deploy ground troops in Iran. The ambassador in Iran says, let them come, we're ready. They won't be able to attack us and flee like they do in fighter jets. We welcome them. So Iran's ready for this asymmetric warfare on the ground. And I don't think it's a good situation for the U.S. if we go in there. It's their territory. They know where everything's at. They can set booby traps, mines, whatever. So I don't recommend it. Iran's IRGC has issued threats against several prominent Western corporations, designating them as legitimate targets due to their purported involvement in military activities. So they're saying because of their involvement in this war, the companies named include Cisco, HP, Intel, Oracle, Microsoft, Apple, Google, Meta, IBM, Dell, Palantir, NVIDIA, JP Morgan, Tesla, General Electric, Spire Solutions, G42, and Boeing. there were actually warnings sent out by the IRGC to these facilities telling the employees to get out. So now they're not only are they attacking the oil infrastructure and energy infrastructure, they're also attacking these corporations. So kind of insane. There's a CENTCOM update. I don't know if we will watch this whole thing, but this is, kind of the, I don't want to say propaganda, but it's kind of like a advertisement for how great things are going for Operation Epic Fury.
Hi, I'm Admiral Brad Cooper, Commander of U.S. Central Command, here in the Middle East with our 50,000 service members to provide my 6th update on Operation Epic Fury. Now in our 5th week of the campaign, it is my operational assessment that we are making undeniable progress in eliminating Iran's ability to project power in meaningful ways outside its borders. We don't see their Navy sailing, we don't see their aircraft flying, and their air defense and missile defense systems have largely been destroyed. Despite our clear dominance, our forces remain vigilant. It's long been my belief that every success we have begins and ends with our people, and our warfighters deployed forward are doing outstanding work. During this trip, I've had the privilege to recognize and award our troops for their courage, resilience, and tenacity as they continue to go above and beyond.
Yeah. It's pretty fun work.
Great job. Great job. You enjoy it, huh?
Thank you, sir.
How long have you been in?
12 years, sir.
Fantastic. How you doing?
Pretty good, sir.
I'm from Ohio.
Okay, what part?
Toledo, sir.
Okay, great. Fantastic, fantastic. Thanks for what you're doing. Much appreciated.
Yes, sir.
What's your job?
I'm a wizard for the Strike Eagle.
Okay.
But you get the idea. He's just hanging out with the troops. Things are going well. Iran's not doing well, right? Typical update. President Trump said this. I thought this was very interesting because he's saying that everyone else is going to have to manage the Strait of Hormuz. But he also said the Strait of Hormuz will automatically reopen when the war is done. So he says if he pulls out in 2 to 3 weeks, like he's saying we should be able to, then the Strait of Hormuz will take care of itself. And he also said that some places gas is more than like $4 a gallon and diesel is very expensive. He says that will go back down when the war ends. So he's not worried about it. He said it was definitely worth saving the American people from nukes to have a little bit of gas price hike for a short period of time. Overall, I would agree, but I didn't see nukes, right? We heard they were enriching uranium. We didn't want them to make them, so maybe a good thing. A senior Hezbollah official reportedly told the Lebanese state that Lebanon was not its territory and the land belongs to those who defend it, and government resolutions belong in the trash can. The leader of Hezbollah, one of them, basically saying that Lebanon doesn't belong to Lebanon. It belongs to Hezbollah because they protect it. Kind of interesting. Kind of goes back to survival of the fittest. If they're the main force in Lebanon and they can take out the Lebanon army, then they could claim the land, right? In theory. The IDF says they eliminated some more leaders, some more operatives, and I don't show a lot of these strikes because in some cases there's people there, so I don't want to show gore or anything like that. But overall, based on everything everyone's saying, on our side, it seems like things are going fairly well. There's always going to be some, obviously we had some casualties and, we've lost some jets. We've had some other things happen, but we've lost, hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars worth of equipment in this war. But it could be worse, right? Could always be worse. So let me go through intel here really quick too. Let's look at our planes. Let's see. First, let's look at our sub-hunters. So we have one over here hanging out. Mostly over, interesting. Mostly over land, it looks like. That is an interesting pattern over land. Again, these are like intel planes to look for nuclear radiation and that kind of stuff. Yeah, kind of hanging out in this general area, circling on both sides of it, but on land. So I haven't seen that a lot. That's pretty interesting, actually. This one here, over by Taiwan. Obviously, there'd be Chinese subs and stuff over there. One heading up in between Iceland and Norway. Don't see any circling patterns yet, though. But I do want to see the U.S. We've seen some on the East Coast, mostly off the East Coast of Florida in the past. Probably watching Mar-a-Lago. There have been other times where we've seen off the west coast of California, we've seen some activity looking for subs. But let's see if we've had anything interesting over here today. Not really. Little bit of activity over here off the East Coast, but so another thing that these planes do is they will let down antennas and they will communicate with our subs. So not only do they look for enemy subs, but they also communicate and can pass on, I would assume, like nuclear attack options and other communications to the submarines. So that could be what stuff like this is as well. It doesn't always mean that there's, doom and gloom off our coast. But it doesn't seem like there's a ton of activity there. Let's see what we have as far as drones and tankers. So we have still a lot of Globemasters. We have a lot of Stratotankers and Pegasus. And like I said before, typically when you see them, that means that they are not refueling. They usually are refueling with their transponders off, so they don't give away the positions of the B-2s and the other bombers and fighter jets. So I think these guys might have just got done, or they're just getting ready to do it. There's a decent amount over here. I think we have, 8 or 10 of them. We have some Globemasters doing transport. Looks like they're all... Where's this originating from? This one's coming from near Luxembourg. And it looks like a lot of them are taking that similar path. So they're going back and forth between Luxembourg and here. I don't see any drones at the moment. Wait, do I have drones turned off? Maybe I have them turned off. I don't. I do have them turned... No, they're on. Okay. Yeah, so no drones. But nothing crazy, nothing out of the ordinary for this operation. Strait of Hormuz, traffic looks like it's about the same as it's been. It seems like there's more ships here going in and out. As far as, which ones are being charged $2 million each and that kind of thing, I don't know. I haven't heard any news on that. But we do know there has been an attack on one near Qatar, which is over in this area. So we'll see what happens. Obviously never a good thing. There was some elevation in the pizza index earlier today. Right now everything's quiet, and I think these no data, so I think they might be closed at this point. We did have another rise again, which is pretty typical near Ohio and Chicago, kind of the Great Lakes area. They do have some uranium mines and things, so that's not really out of the ordinary. There was this one here that I've not seen in the past recently, an elevation in Hungary, but it's not that high. So nothing really to worry about as far as the radiation and stuff goes. Typically this stuff is ups and down all the time. It's like a roller coaster. Some days they're higher, some days they're lower. Some days in the U.S. we'll have 5, 6, 7 of them that are red, and other days we'll have none. So it just depends. Earthquakes, we have some in the general region, nothing in the Iran area. What we're looking for with earthquakes is if we have an earthquake and the waveform does not have aftershocks, then that could indicate that maybe there's some nuclear testing or testing of pieces of a nuclear load. So that's good that we're not really seeing anything there. This is kind of like a summary of attacks. So we know there's been rocket, and it looks like, what are these here? Radar facilities. Oh, it looks like the meteorological facilities have been knocked out. So the deputy governor of Bushehr, I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce that. The city's meteorological radar facilities are completely out of service due to an American-Israeli attack. Then we have missiles that came into Israel, and then we have everything you could ever think of going into Iran. Lots of attacks all over the place. Looks like we had some drone attacks here. 10 drones were intercepted in the past few hours down in the UAE. So, I mean, everything's still going on. I know a lot of people are saying that things are slowing down and they plan on this war stopping soon, but there's still a lot of moves being made. Looks like another desalination plant on Iran's Qashem Island went out of service from an airstrike. That is not good. That would be a humanitarian issue. So we definitely don't want to see that kind of stuff. Oil prices, 102. I believe the highest I've seen this was like 118 within the last week or so. So this has actually gone down. Let's check out these other prices here. It's about half and half. We have some greens going up, and we have some reds going down. As low as 4%, as high as 6% going up. So kind of balanced. So I wouldn't say there's nothing crazy has happened there, but overall they are saying that oil prices are going up. And actually, real quick, if you guys can, put the price of oil in your area. So last time I got oil, I believe it was 318 per gallon. So what price are you guys paying right now? If anything, a lot of people are just staying home. They don't want to go out and do anything because they don't want to have to pay for gas. Let's see here. 419 Idaho. It's not terrible. 384 North Carolina. Yeah, so I guess that probably what 609. Where is that? Is that diesel? Where are you paying 609 at? That must be, is that California? Let's see, California gas prices. California says 571 to 588. Los Angeles exceeded $6 per gallon. 6 plus, and yeah, California. Okay, that makes sense. 325 diesel a liter in Australia. Mustafa, you could make an entire business right now exporting exporting diesel. You could probably retire after a couple months. Yeah, that's interesting. So I guess that's about right. About average $4 per gallon, and some people are hitting that 6 in certain areas. You're an hour above Los Angeles. Okay, that makes sense then. Yeah, I'm kind of in Nebraska is not too bad. We never really get too high, even when stuff gets kind of sketchy. All right, let me check really quick here. So for anyone, I don't know if anyone's new here. If you are new, I am Matt, and I have a channel also called Trigger Smart, and it's at the bottom of the screen. But Trigger Smart is firearms training, as well as investigative stuff like the UAPs and UFOs, as well as like Charlie Kirk case and stuff like that. It's kind of like my fun creative channel. And then this is obviously like wartime monitoring, news, current events. I'll probably be covering all different kinds of stuff over here, kind of similar to like Agenda TV does, Agenda Free TV. I had a news station or news channel before I started doing Trigger Smart, and I kind of wanted to get back into it, but I didn't want to have them on the same channel because it messes up the algorithm. So here I am on this channel. And then make sure you hit that like, subscribe if you're not already. If you want to contact me, you can go to Trigger Smart HQ on X, or you can send tips or emails to engcwarrior@gmail.com. And if you want to support the channel, there are ways to do so down in the description. Everything from merch to affiliate links to donations. Much appreciated. Not required, but definitely helpful. PJ here. Thanks for gifting that membership. Always awesome. And for anyone that's out there, looks like Mandy maybe got it. She said, "Oh, thanks." The way the gifted memberships work is it's completely random. So if someone like PJ is kind enough to buy them, I think it just randomly selects anyone who's not a member. But congratulations, Mandy. Looks like you got this one. Coco Library Girl says, I saw Poseidon fly right over me on Friday. It was so cool. Thanks to Trigger for teaching me so much. See, I've never gotten to see one in person, so that's pretty awesome. I rarely ever see them in the Midwest, at least with transponders on anyway. Dosinia says, thanks for hitting that like. It helps the algorithm. And we do have the mods here. Definitely want to thank the mods for everything they do. There's a 24/7 monitoring stream. So what we did before is we would basically do this update like this, and then we would go into like sometimes 2 or 3 hours or more of just kind of like hanging out and monitoring and watching for any incoming into Israel, and watch the cams and stuff together. And it looks like they need to be refreshed, by the way. But I created the 24/7 stream on the same channel on Offscript Radio, and you can basically go in there and it's automated. So anytime a siren or something happens, it goes to those cams, and it also automatically goes through multiple screens and intel. And it also has emergency action messages on military radio. So what I will probably be doing with these is I will be doing these live updates like this, and then I will be basically signing off, and then you're welcome to go over to the 24/7 stream. So let me double check and make sure there's nothing else last minute that I need to pull from updates. And I appreciate the mods being here and helping. I appreciate those that are members and have been already helping out the channel. Yeah, I guess the big story is Trump basically saying that we don't need the Strait of Hormuz, and he's just going to pull out and leave it to them to deal with. So basically his mindset is if they're just going to fight over it and cause problems and create issues, we don't really need it. We have our own oil, right? Like the U.S. is one of the biggest exporters of oil in the world. We might be the biggest. So he says we don't need it. So we'll just pull out. It's not worth our time. Kind of an interesting take. I would kind of agree. But obviously we have our allies and we try to support each other. But they basically failed us, right? Like Germany was against this and didn't want to do anything till the war was over. We have Spain and France telling us to go F ourselves, saying we can't use their airspace and that kind of thing. So they're kind of setting themselves up for this type of situation. Let me make sure I get through all of my members and supers. Sarah Bryan, me and the boss, Dralatina, Brian Swope, PJ, thanks for becoming channel members. Sato Gaming, how's it going? As always, thank you for your coverage. My baseline go-to for updates, not sensationalized or pumped full of emotion. And that's one thing that, you know, a lot of people say. I try to be balanced and fair. Every once in a while, you'll see me get worked up, but not very often. And usually even then, I'm still logical. I'm not acting off emotion. So Sarah Bryan, thank you so much for all you do. It's been really nice to be able to watch what's going on and be able to trust. I appreciate that. Very, very kind with that large donation. So I think what I will do, yeah, a lot of people. So you know what's funny about this? Auntie Jans, she says, "Matt, I just love your voice. It's so calming in this crazy world. Thank you for all you do." So I've heard people say that my logic and calmness about situations calms people down, but also that my voice itself does. And someone was telling me I should do like an ASMR station where I just like talk and just like read a book or something, which I thought was kind of funny. But actually, what I was considering is with my wife, we were maybe thinking about like doing a 365-day like Bible read on YouTube. So basically it would be like the entire Bible within a year in videos. I don't know how if it would be like showing the scripture as I'm reading it or something, but I was thinking about doing something like that. But I thought that might be a cool idea and definitely important to get the word out because, yeah, that stuff's not being pushed as much anymore. Yeah, I need to channel my own energy into parenting sometimes. I don't know how many kids you have. I have 5. So I definitely feel your pain. And that might be why. They actually have probably calmed me down dealing with all of them. So, all right, awesome. All right, so what I'm going to do is it's my son's birthday. I'm going to go spend some more time with him and put him to bed and all that good stuff. But I appreciate everyone being here. Again, mods, members, super chats, everything. The support is always amazing. And we'll keep doing this. My plan is to do some videos and stuff, probably mostly during the daytime for Trigger Smart. And then in the afternoons and evenings, then I would shift over and do some of these updates and lives and stuff over here. So we'll see how that goes. And also be thinking about this. I'm going to do a poll on this channel. But I want to see if people want to do live updates like this, or if they prefer just to do like a video recapping the updates that's maybe shorter, maybe like 20 or 30 minutes or something, kind of going through all the news and all the headlines and all the clips and making it like kind of condensed, and then just like do that every day as opposed to like doing a live every time. But let me know, and I'll do a poll. Actually, I'll do an official poll on the channel for that. I see a lot of you guys saying live. All right, awesome. But I'm gonna get to bed, so I appreciate it. And like I said, you can jump over to the 24/7 stream to monitor, and I'll see you guys on the next one.